say you'll catch me.
Hey guys, Jazz back with another video. In this video, we're going to give you 5 tips on fantasy football. It's mostly for beginners, but it might help some of you guys who are a little bit more veteran or haven't done too much of fantasy football, need some help, have struggled in fantasy football. My advice to you guys, if you never play fantasy football, try to do one and like ESPN or something. You could just sign up and just play against random people. My advice though is, like, if you have friends who are into the NFL, maybe get a group of friends together and do one. It's more fun when it's actually a money league. I've played in money leagues like the last 3 or 4 years. I've had 6 leagues in the last 3 years. I've made the playoffs in 5 of them. Made to the championship twice and won 1 championship. The one that I didn't was last year when I had on one of the leagues. I had David Johnson with my number, and I took him #1 overall. He basically didn't play all season. He played for 1/2 of 1 game. So that really cost me, because basically I just didn't have a 1st or 2nd round pick, because once you draft #1, you got to wait to the end of the 2nd round to draft again. It's basically like a 3rd round pick. So that hurt, but I still was in there because you can do things to adjust, because I've had years that my top 3 players like didn't pan out or like got injured, and I still made it to the playoffs. So again, I'm going to go over a few things you guys should know. And right here I got like the average position that players are going for. And if you guys see right here, Todd Gurley is averaging 1.6, so he's going for like the average high. And most people play PPR. This 2018 12-team leagues. Again, there's different types of leagues. You can go to here, fantasyfootballcalculator.com, and you can change it up to whatever your league format is. But this is basically tells you what all the how people are getting drafted. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like it's just in order. I think that's a little high for Saquon Barkley, but whatever. He could be up there, but this is the draft order that people have him in. So I'm just gonna go over things over the draft and things just in the league that you should know to help you with that. With this, I'm also gonna have my fantasy draft live. I think my draft is September 1st. I'm gonna do it live on Twitch. So if you guys want to stop by September 1st, I think it's like around 1 p.m. or something. I'll let you guys know in another video. I'll try to do like a weekly fantasy video once the season starts, like players that you might want to look to pick up and stuff like that. I also have a video coming out after this to help you guys out, players who I'm probably going to avoid, like a wide receiver I'm avoids, running back I'm looking to avoid, tight ends, and then like people who are going really low in drafts who I think are going to have really good years, who you should look out for as sleeper picks. So look out for that video. First thing I want to start off with is do your homework. Know like I know a few players that are going lower than they should that I'm going to go after, and also certain players who just want to stay away from. Maybe they're too injury prone, they burn you in the past. Players who just have a lot of baggage, have some legal issues or something like that. Do your homework. Know what you're getting yourself into. Don't just go into it blindly. So when somebody, like, let's say you're only looking at what, let me see, you didn't do too much homework, but you like, I want this guy, and right before you draft, somebody drafts him, and you're scrambling, don't know who to pick, and just wind up picking somebody else. Then you look and you're like, there was this guy right there that I wanted to pick. So always do your homework. Have like 3 or 4 players you're looking to draft. Don't not just focusing on one player, because then when somebody takes them right ahead of you, you're scrambling. So you always want to have multiple players you're looking at that draft slot, whatever when as you're going in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, whatever. All right, so we're gonna start off with, so just do your homework. Number 2 is what I always do. I mean, some people tend not to do this, is wait on quarterbacks and tight ends. I normally do not draft. Well, defense and kickers are my last 2 picks. Defense, I usually do situationally. So I go in free agency every week and look for a defense that's playing a really bad offense. That's what I normally do, because you can have a really good defense and they don't put up really big fantasy numbers because they got to get interceptions and all that. Usually when a defense going against a really bad offense, they're going to get pick sixes. They're going to get good, also is included in special teams. If they get a lot of run backs and stuff like that, that adds to the point. So I always look for defenses situationally to me, because if a really good defense playing a really good offense, it's still not that good of a play in my opinion. So I don't draft high defense. Defense is my 2nd to last pick, and kicker is my last pick. And again, you want to pick kickers who are on really good offenses, because they have more opportunities to kick. So when you're picking your kicker, just get a kicker like with the Steelers, Rams, or some a good kicker with a really good offense that's going to have a lot of opportunities. Especially if they don't have a lot of good red zone. They got a good offense, but they don't have like a really big red zone threat. It's a good option as well, because they'll probably be kicking a lot of field goals. They don't have really good red zone threats. Tight ends and quarterbacks. A lot of people like to draft quarterback 2nd round. They like to draft tight ends 2nd round, quarterback 2nd round. I tend not to do that, because I think you could get almost the same value in the 7th and 8th round. And here's my thing. My first couple of rounds, I want to go wide receivers and running backs, because one, most leagues you'll need 5 of them of those skill positions. You need 5 of the flex positions, basically wide receiver, running back, with 6 flex positions because whatever. But you'll have 1 flex, and you'll need like at least 3 wide receivers starting and 2 running backs, or 3 running backs and 2 things, or you could have a tight end too as well in there. But a lot of people don't use the flex for a tight end. But yeah, you want to go running back heavy because there's a big drop off. To me, best case scenario, I'm picking a running back first round, third round, a wide receiver second round, then I'm just going wide receiver running back, wide receiver running back. Like in terms of, but it depends on who's on the board. But I'm trying to get wide receivers and running backs. Probably like my first 6 or 7 picks are wide receiver running backs, and some of those guys are going to be backups. People on wide receivers and running backs, they sometimes underperform. Wide receiver running backs often get injured. You need good backups at those positions because you have so many starters. In quarterback, you only have 1 starter. Tight end, you only have 1 starter. So those I want to wait till later, and you could get good value. And I'm going to show you this as we go on and talk about. You can get good value. A lot of people like to do that, draft high on quarterback, and to me, that's too risky because you can still get a really good quarterback in the 7th or 8th round. You can't get really good wide receivers and running backs in the 7th and 8th round, and running back especially, because running backs I think are more valuable because there's less good. First of all, there's only usually most teams have like 1 good starter, and a lot of teams are running like multiple backfields. So you got to be careful with running backs that you really take them up high. Me, I personally like to draft first round, but again, it depends. Like if all the good running backs are gone and there's a really beastly wide receiver, then I'm gonna go wide receiver. It's dependent on the board, but what I like to go is more running back heavy than wide receiver heavy. Unless you're playing like a 3 wide receiver league plus a flex, then wide receiver is a little bit more valuable because now you got to start 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. So you might be starting 4 wide receivers. But if you're running the standard 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, I value the running back a little bit more because there's less really good running backs. Like, you know, there's most teams run 3 wide receivers. Most teams on average like 250, 300 passing yards. Those are a lot of points out there for you to get. And then most teams running backs don't average 100 yards. You know, so I'm just saying, stack up on running backs early. And wide receivers. Forget about tight ends and quarterbacks till later. That's what I tend to do, and just stack up on wide receivers and running backs. Third thing, well, basically that was the third thing, just stack up on running backs and wide receivers. The 4th thing is don't draft to fill your starters first. I see this very often, even in money leagues. There's people who try to fill all their starters and then work to get they'll actually fill defense and kicker and then go and start getting backups. No, because you filled all those positions. Now the backups you're getting are terrible. And sometimes these guys have really good starting lineups, but the problem is there'll be guys who underperform. There'll be guys who get hurt, and you have nobody to fill those spots because your bench is trash. You suffer 1 or 2 injuries and your season is over because you drafted terribly. So just that's one thing I like to do, is because if you got like 3 or 4 good studs in the bench, you can afford injuries. You can on bye weeks you're still good. So obviously stack up on this, and I'm going to show you this. 5th thing we're going to talk about, the key to winning leagues is having a great draft, but it's also waiver wire pickups. You guys got to get on waiver. I'm going to go over this right here in reference to all the things I'm talking about, but first I just want to get this last thing out. Waiver wire pickup is huge because once you see, like, let's say during the week somebody gets hurt. Ezekiel Elliott got hurt in practice. People be like, damn, that sucks. You get the alert on your phone. That sucks. Zeke got hurt. When I see Zeke got hurt, you know what's the first thing I do? Is his backup available? Do I have somebody on my bench who's not doing anything who I can get rid of and pick up their backup because now he's going to get a lot of carries? So that's the mindset you got to have, is when someone gets hurt or you see someone like a rookie or young player getting a lot more reps and they're getting better and better, putting up bigger stats, you got to get them before they explode. So just make sure you're on the waiver wire, because leagues, if you're not on the waiver wire picking up great pickups on like throughout the weeks, basically waiver wire is on Wednesday. You get to pick up anybody who's on free agency, so anybody who had a beast week or whatever. But if you're on them before, you're not like chasing your tail. You want to get those guys. You want to be on the waiver wire. Always be on the waiver wire. So we're gonna go over a few things. These are how they drafted, right? And this is the reason why I tell you guys don't draft quarterbacks. Now, if we go quarterbacks here, we're just gonna look at quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is average getting drafted in the 3rd round. I wouldn't draft a quarterback in the 3rd round. Then we got Deshaun Watson, who's really high averaging in the 4th round, 5th round with these Wilson. And to me, this is the best quarterback to draft in fantasy this year. This guy right here. Bad defense, and he was the #1 last year. His defense is not better this year. He's going to light it up. I don't know why these guys are getting drafted ahead of him. Do not draft these guys ahead of him. There's some people who draft quarterbacks in the 2nd round. There are a lot of people, they just go crazy drafting quarterbacks. Don't do that. Why? Let's look right here. Matt Stafford, 8th round. Matt Ryan, 8th or 9th round. Phillip Rivers, 8th or 9th round. Ben Roethlisberger, who's going to put up monster numbers with that offense, he's getting drafted like in the 9th or 10th round. You get what I'm saying? That you can get Pro Bowl caliber, probably top 5 quarterbacks in the 10th round. Unless you get super uber lucky, you're not going to get, you know, top 5 running back in the 10th round. Unless there's like a rookie who nobody's talking about who just busted into the scene, which can happen, but they're usually not going to be in the 10th round. They might be in the 5th or 6th round. You're not getting that type of talent. So that's why I wait on quarterbacks. I take the tight end first, and the quarterback is around the 8th or 10th. It depends. If the league, everybody's running on the top quarterbacks, you don't want to get left with one of these guys down here. But most people are only going to take one quarterback. Who's going to be stacked? There's going to be some idiots in some drafts who's going to take like 3 quarterbacks because they're dumb. I only draft one quarterback, and I wait till later on to draft it because you could get a Ben Roethlisberger later, Phillip Rivers, Jared Goff. I think is going to have a big year. I think this is the cutoff, like the Jared Goff. You want one of these quarterbacks, and you can get them, like I said, until the 10th or 11th round. 11th round, you can still draft Jared Goff in most drafts, and that he's going to put up, I think, an MVP type of year this year. He has potential to put up an MVP year, and he's going to the 11th round. There's no MVP potential 11th round running backs, 11th round wide receivers. I guarantee you this. So if you don't want to believe me, let's go and see running backs who are going in that type of thing. You're talking about Ty Montgomery's who are in 3 running backs in their backfield, and maybe he's not even going to get touches. You're talking about, like, you see, these are guys who nobody knows who the starter is going to be. They're in like multiple backfields, like Devontae Booker, who's the backup running back on the team, so he has to hope that the other guy gets hurt. So that's why you want to load up on running backs, especially because after like the 5th or 6th round, like the running backs are really shaky after that. That's why I say load up on things. Wide receivers is a little bit better. You can get better quality like later on in the draft, like around the hundreds. You can still get like Robert Woods, who's pretty good. Kenny Stills. There's a lot of good options. Tyler Lockett, decent options later on in the draft. John Ross, who some people project him to have a big year. He's looking good in camp, so that's a guy to look out for. There's a couple of guys to look out for, but again, I'm gonna do a separate video, guys who you should look out for. But a lot of good guys, and then tight ends as well. A lot of people take Gronk really early, but later on in the draft, Jack Doyle with their quarterback being back. That's like a 9th round tight end who's probably going to put up big numbers. Trey Burton, Jordan Reed. If Jordan Reed stays healthy, he's going to have a humongous year. Alex Smith likes to throw to his tight ends. Jordan Reed, when healthy, is a top 3 fantasy tight end, and he's going in like the 6th or 7th round. So again, you can get really good talent later on. Obviously, you can. I would probably, some of these are a little bit riskier, so you might want to double up. Maybe, you know, 8th round, 9th round, get 2 tight ends. But again, your first 5 or 6 picks, in my opinion, unless something crazy, like if Gronk is there in the 5th or 6th round, then we're talking, we're cooking. If Kelsey's there in the 5th or 6th round, you're getting great value. But don't be drafting these guys in the 2nd round, 3rd round. I don't like it. But if you're getting value for these guys, now if you're talking 4th or 5th round, then that's when you can jump in and be like, okay, these guys dropped so long. Now it's time to jump on them because they drop. But don't overdraft tight ends. Do not overdraft tight ends. Sit on tight end. You can get great value later. This guy's going to be a beast this year. Absolute monster. One of my sleeper picks preview, absolute beast this year. He's getting drafted in the 10th round. So again, there's a lot of great value for these quarterback and tight ends that you can wait for. Do not draft defenses and kickers to the end. And you can hold and wait and get really good value at tight end and quarterback. That's why you want to keep drafting wide receivers and running back, because those guys are going to get hurt. Those guys are going to underperform. And again, if you got like 4 really good wide receivers, that's trade bait. Maybe 2 of your running backs got hurt, and you got 4 really good wide receivers because you drafted wide receiver, and now you can go out and get one of the top tier running backs with one of your wide receivers if you see somebody in your league who needs a wide receiver. So again, a lot of guys will draft their starters all first and then have no bench, and then once they suffer injuries, they're gonna give up their best players to get what you got. So again, guys, draft heavy on running back, wide receiver. Wait on tight ends and quarterbacks because there'll be great value later on in the draft. And do not draft all your starters. Wait on defensive kickers to the very end. Wait on quarterbacks and tight ends to the middle, and draft heavy running back, wide receivers. So hopefully you guys found that informative. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below. I'll answer any questions. I will have a video on sleepers and on people you want to avoid coming up probably tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. We will be doing our fantasy draft live on my Twitch channel as well, so be looking out for that. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like down below. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe. Till next time, guys.